suggestion of another separate meeting to discuss the 2021 budget. Once finance has an opportunity to really firm up exactly what was spent where. And then I would also like to reintroduce Diana Doyle to everyone. She has so graciously agreed to come help us through the budget after the passing of Alan Harris. Diana will be presenting the majority of the budget along with the other GMs and managers. And Diana can help answer any of the financial questions like staffing cost reserves or transfers, etc. So I will turn everything over to Diana.
Welcome back.
Thanks. With the community groups not coming till this afternoon, Mayor Gundon, did you want to go ahead with the grant and
Absolutely.
aid? And I have some information with regards to the grant and aid in terms of what I've put together is for 2020 and 2021, the amounts, if any, that the grant and aid applicants have received in those years. So as you're going through them, I can provide you with information as to whether or not they've received grants in those 2 years as well, if that is helpful to council.
Perfect. All right, we'll start off with number 1, Wetaskiwin Theatre Society for $15,000. Councillor Elliott.
Mr. Mayor, could I just clarify? Now, we're discussing this as one item.
Individually.
So if I declared a conflict last time, I should declare a conflict this time,
Correct.
but I'm able to vote on the entire grant and aid
Correct.
without having a conflict.
Yeah. You just remove yourself for the individual
discussion.
section. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
So just for clarification, then can we not rehash, but review the intent of grant and aid, as I recall, was seed money for organizations to put on activities and or events.
But then we had 2 parts to it. One was the community portion of it, and the other for the grant and aid was at up to $500. So it was up to $500 for that. And then did the policy change for what was over and above that? Like if it was sponsorship, it fell under the same thing?
There wasn't an actual policy change that occurred last year, no.
So as we examine these, are we looking at this as seed money?
In previous years, no, that hasn't been the case because we've done approvals for the theater, the museum, the International Raceway. And I thought the International Raceway before was we were buying advertising out there. So that was the one change that I had.
Okay.
I think I just overheard the request for the policy on it. I had thought that we changed it. I thought there was one for up to $500, which would have been that seed money, and then over $500 was the community grant.
Okay, thank you.
But that's not necessarily what it is. Go ahead, Sue.
Through the chair to council, there was a change, I believe, in 2019 when Diana was here first time, and Karen's just going to find that policy and email it to you.
Thank you.
Councilor Billingsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Until we get clarification, but on the surface, I am in favor of the Theater Society. The city does a whole lot of things that do with recreation, but does very little with the arts. And we subsidize a ton for sports, but very little as far as, like I say, the arts. So for that reason, I would be supporting it as long as it fits within our criteria. You got me.
So no, it wasn't just startup. Number 4 in there, aid may be used for capital expenditures, operational expenditures, and operational capital needs for in-kind. So not necessarily just the startup of the project. for the event. And then percentages depending on their budget. So up to 50% if they have a budget of 1,000. Arts and culture, heritage, recreation, environment, community pride. So those would fit within the policy. So now we'll just talk about the amounts. So for me, coming into a budget that is showing potentially a significant deficit, while we need to obviously watch where we're spending and what we're spending it on, it also would be then a reflection of what we're able to contribute back into the community. So I've taken that into consideration for each of the requests on those as well. So I do agree with Councilor Billingsley that art should definitely be supported by the city. I just don't know that we would do that. I wouldn't support the full 15,000. I would support 10. So I guess we'll go on the initial request of 15,000. You can put your green sign up if you support that, and then we'll carry on from there. So not voting in favor of the 15,000 doesn't mean that you're not still going to support it at some amount. Carried at 15,000. Item 2, quilting divas.
Mr. Mayor, I will declare conflict at
Thank
this
you.
time.
So discussion on that. Go ahead.
My understanding from my involvement with the Wetaskiwin Arts Center is this is a group of ladies that are actually building a quilt with the intention of giving the funds back to the Wetaskiwin Arts Center to offset their operational costs. So it's one organization giving back to another arts community.
Okay.
I would support this.
Okay, anything else? In favor of the 1,100? 1,100 it is.
Had to check the color, right?
Item 3, Wetaskiwin District Museum, Councillor Aberley.
I must declare pecuniary interest.
Thank you. You are excused.
Might want to bring Bill back.
Break's over, sir. So again, I would support 50,000 for the District Museum Society, again, based on our financial situation. So as it stands at 75, those in favor, or sorry, I guess I should have further discussion. Go ahead, Councilor Billingsley. Turn your mic on.
Sorry, thank you. I don't think that this is the right avenue to fund this, but it is what it is. I will support your $50,000 until that agreement is made, whatever that may be, and whatever services they will provide.
Sure. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if $50,000 were allotted now and an agreement is signed, the agreement could be increased.
Potentially.
But
Right now, as it stands, what would be allocated or given to the museum right now would be 50,000 for 2022.
that would be in the 2022 budget, so
Correct.
that would not be increased. All right. Basically, the museum is going from hand to mouth each month. They're very, very strapped, and they have a good staff, and a small staff like that provides an awful lot. And I really feel that they're a very strong ambassador for our community. There's a lot of things that they do that make our community better. And in a time when there's not a lot of money going around, they do provide events and things. So I would support them to the tune of $75,000.
And I agree with you 100%. I think that they are vital in the community. I'm just looking at our financial situation, not necessarily what they're able to provide to the community. Councillor Blatz.
I echo the comments by Councillor Elliott. However, given our tough economic times, I would support it at 60,000.
Anything further? At 75. Okay. And the auction flavor of the day, we have 60,000 up next. Okay, I had proposed 50,000. Carried at $50,000.
Sounds like an auction.
I need to learn how to speak faster.
Should we summon?
What's that? Yeah. Number 4, Reynolds Alberta Museum. Just reiterate what I said before, I would support $10,000 based on our current financial situation. Councillor Billingsley.
And I will support 0. I truly believe that this is a marketing thing that is being used for the museum. And there's nobody better to determine whether this is good marketing dollars than the Economic Development Department. And I believe that that should come out of their budget and not ours.
I agree with that. I don't mean to sound surprised.
Totally.
Anything further? Councillor Blatz? No? Councillor Lonsdale.
Thank you, sir. I agree with Councillor Billingsley as well. I think this is something we rehashed a little bit last year as well. And in our economic times right now, I agree with the $0.
At 20. At 10. At 0. 0 it is. Asking Music Festival Association. Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. The music festival, again, has to deal with the arts, and I can appreciate the hard work that goes into that. I would have no problem in doing in-kind for facilities, but looking at the music festival's financials, they have $32,000 in a GIC for a total, I believe, of $56,000 or $58,000 total in the bank. However, 30,000 of that is restricted funds. I'm not sure why we would, and especially in today's day, where we're sitting financially of giving money to an organization that has money in the bank and that can afford to do this.
I agree with you, Councillor Billingsley. Councillor Elliott.
I think we should give a token at least to show that we appreciate what they've been doing. The Music Festival Society has been putting on music festivals for years and years and years in our community and involve a lot of our youth, especially. And I just think if we're going to help young people aspire to be better at things, that the city should certainly be supporting as well.
Councillor Nielsen.
I would totally agree with Bill, but I also, sorry, Councillor Elliott, but I think we can show our support by offering facilities as opposed to a monetary amount.
I agree. Councillor Blatz.
I think that this one is a little bit difficult for me as well, because I would love to support any community organization that wants to bring the community together, especially in times like now. However, I do hear the statements from Councillor Billingsley as well, that they do have money in the bank. And so to me, I would support it at $1,000.
What would it look like, Sue, in terms of in kind?
Through the chair, I'd have to actually look at their application and see what it is that
I'm
they're
just-
looking
I'm
for.
trying to find it as well. That's why I thought I could ask you. Maybe your memory is better than mine.
No.
Yeah, you're over. You were on it right the first time. Yeah. 2A.
Up top, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, scroll just a little bit. Grant aid, sorry. I was thinking of,
Through the mayor and council, I think oh, Karen, can you go back? The office printing, I mean, do they have an office here? We could check with them and see if printing and that sort of thing could be done here, the $2,000. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We would have to touch base with them to see what opportunities there are for in-kind.
maybe we can set a limit and in kind of up to $2,000 or something like that, that is in cash out of pocket. So as proposed, 5,000. Is there support for any money whatsoever? And now we just need to set a dollar figure for in kind.
$2,000.
$2,000, okay. Speaking to that, anything? Just want to give people the opportunity to speak to that. Maybe they wanted more, maybe they wanted less. Okay. Edmonton International Raceway. Councilor Nielsen.
I guess to me, this is the same as the previous conversation. I think this is a marketing request. And I believe that should be in another department and not at this level, and deciding whether spending $10,000 advertising at the Edmonton International Raceway is beneficial to the community. And I think we have people in our organization that are better suited to determine if that's meeting our needs. So I would say I'm not prepared to support this. If it shows up on another budget line in economic development or something, I might be supporting it there.
That was going to be, well, not even in their budget, but if we're leaving marketing up to ECDev and they choose to do that, that's their decision, not coming from council. Anything further? Councilor Appley.
Well, I don't necessarily support the full $10,000. One of the things about that I would support some funding going towards a marketing at that level, and I would half of that at 5,000, is the Pinty series is well advertised throughout our country and into the States. It has a much farther reach with different people than we see in our normal marketing.
I agree. Councilor Billingsley.
And it could well be. But once again, none of us at this table are marketing experts, and we have employees that do that. And if that department decides that this is such a wonderful thing, then I'm sure that they would find it worth doing.
Councilor Elliott.
So in our wisdom, we're passing this off, but are we going to supplement the economic development budget a little bit so that they, if they didn't realize that these were going to be put on their plate, are we going to supplement their budget a little bit? So we'll ask for a revised budget from them, or just ask them to make priorities based on the amount of money they already have?
Councillor Nielsen.
My thought is they have a marketing advertising budget existing, and I like your second statement, which is set some priorities based on the budget you have, and if it includes International Raceway, that's great. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
My question will be then, so if there's a surplus in what we've budgeted for, are we keeping that in our budget and having that as a pool for FDev or marketing or the CAO to utilize those funds? Or are we taking that completely out of the budget and not having those dollars available? Go ahead.
I guess along those lines, is money in the budget for this now? It's currently embedded.
Up to 93,600 is currently in the public relations budget. So that's your pool of money for the grant and aid applications. If you choose, what you're suggesting to do is to potentially augment the economic development advertising budget. What we could do is take a portion of what we wouldn't use in this 93.6 and add it to the economic development if that's council's choice. Does that answer your question or confuse
Yes,
you?
no, that answers my question. Thank you.
Councillor Billingsley.
I wouldn't necessarily just give the money to them. I don't know if economic development thinks that this is a priority.
No, I know, but are we, so then are we keeping
This
that
would,
budget amount in our budget?
this would, whatever the difference is, would come off the tax base.
Okay, so then we would not have that available.
Correct.
And I would disagree. I think that it should be left in there. And if it doesn't get used throughout the year, then it becomes a surplus. And if that's the consistent for the next year or two that we're having, then obviously we've over budgeted for our grant and aid program. I think leading up till now, we've been in a different financial situation where we were able to contribute more to the community for in-kind or monetary donations to different events going on. I would not want to lose that moving forward. I would rather see it as a surplus coming back next year for us to be able to decide then if we're over budgeting for that. But if one year we decide to cut it back and not use the full amount and then lose it forever, or having to raise taxes again in the future for that, I don't think that that serves us in the best way. Councillor Lonsdale.
Thank you, sir. I agree as well. I'd like to leave it in, so the opportunity is still there. And if economic development finds something that works, then it is available, and we can move on from there.
Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you. I respectfully disagree. We've already pulled $60,000 out. What's being suggested here is we give economic development $60,000 for increased marketing and advertising, if they so choose to spend it. Part of our conversations today have led to our financial dilemma we're finding ourselves in. And all we're doing is taking it from one pot, putting it over here and saying, go ahead, it's yours to spend. And I think if we really believe that we are in some financial difficulty, we need to be aware that $60,000 that we've already pulled out of here is 1/2 of 1% of the tax increase. And going into budget, we've already been told that there's a 3.4 to sustain, and add that to any existing projects we put forward. I'd like to see us peel some of that back if we can. So I don't think we add $60,000 to marketing at this point.
But that discussion would come later as far as adding any more money to ECDAP, right? The question right now is, do we give them $10,000?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, absolutely.
2,000 or
Okay.
nothing
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
out of this amount? And then if we decide later in the afternoon or tomorrow or whenever we finally get to it, that will determine whether or not we keep the difference
Transfer,
in the
take-
budget.
Taken out or just left where it is and
Correct,
not allocated.
correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. So 10,000 for EIR, anything further? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I have to agree with Councillor Aberley. Sportsnet or TSN cover this race. So this goes nationally. It's when you go clicking through the channels to see what's coming up, it actually says the race is in Wetaskiwin. So we do get national and international coverage on this. And plus throughout the year, they also sponsor 50/50s and things for the city of Wetaskiwin community groups. And so I would like to say that we give them at least $5,000.
Councillor Billingsley.
But if we give 0 or 5,000, that doesn't mean that economic development couldn't fund this anyway, if they so choose.
Anything further? $10,000? Suggested at $5,000? Carried at 5. Aspen Air Services Limited. At $2,500. This is for a new event in Aspen. I am not yet. What, how much is registration? All right, can we make this for $2,575? And then it covers my registration for the race as well? No? Okay. Thanks for the support, Councillor Elliott. Any discussion? Councillor Billingsley.
I was not against the concept. To me, this is more of an in-kind of, because I'm sure Wendy at the airport is going to have to send out NOTAMs and different things that organizing it out at the airport. The one thing that didn't sit well with me on the presentation was, I forget his name, that he's going to be a paid employee of this and be collecting some form of a wage. That didn't sit very well with me. So I would be okay if some form of help with Wendy and the airport, but as far as dollars, I would not be supporting that.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. I don't remember his saying that he was being paid. This is going to be a joint function between the Wetaskiwin Health Foundation and the airport to try and bring some illumination to the fact of the airport and the airport services. But I think he's doing it as a volunteer. I don't think he's doing it as,
You may want to check.
okay. My memory is not as good as yours.
Is it possible to call that one up, please?
Event staff.
He was paying himself to do all the timing and all that kind of thing.
That is correct.
Event staff is 2,000 up to 200 people, 3,000 up to 600 people, 4,000 up to 1,000 people.
And if I may,
Yep.
I guess my question is to Councillor Elliott. I know you're in the Health Foundation. Yes? Okay. Now, the Health Foundation for years has run this type of event, and you've indicated that this is in partnership with the Health Foundation?
The Health Foundation is going to assist with the organization, and the funds generated will go to the Health Foundation.
So the Health Foundation will not be running a second event.
Yes, there will be a hospital or Health Foundation triathlon in June as well.
With the funds going to the Health Foundation.
As well, yes. But if I may, while I'm on mic, I thought the money that was being asked for was for the timing equipment and things and the expertise that was coming down. With the Wetaskiwin Health Foundation Triathlon, we do pay a person to come down and operate the equipment, and we pay for the equipment. So, and I thought, I did ask Eric that question, and that's, he said that that was for the equipment and things and the operator of that equipment. So I don't think it's a staff.
Which was him, he said.
Yes.
But this grant, the grant from the city can't go to that. So
For-
if we
for
were providing,
wages.
yeah, if we're providing money for that, then it's going to the timing equipment or the other things that are needed for the race.
That's my understanding.
Thank you, sir. I'm in favor of the 2,500. I think it showcases our airport a little bit, brings a new event to our city, working with the Health Foundation as well. I think it's something that I could agree with.
And I would too, given it its first year, seeing how it goes, and if we can support it into creating an annual event, then I think this is exactly what our grant and aid is there for. Anything further at 2,500?
Oh, sorry.
2,500. Aspen Ag Society, in kind. Counselor Everly.
Sounds like you're saying Everly. I'd just like to remind that I'm an Aberley. I'm just being a turkey already
After
on
tomorrow, and I don't
Monday.
have to wear a mask, it'll be that much clearer.
Well, when I get my surgery.
That's probably you. It's, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably
definitely
me.
not me.
I'm in full support of what they asked for in all of their in-kind donations. I think that this is an excellent way to work with local community groups of things that we have and that we can put forward. It also gets our city staff involved in events, being at them, showing. So I'm 100% in favor of this as asked.
As we're transitioning a little bit to the in-kind stuff, I'm curious about staff capacity. Are we okay with that?
Good day, Mr. Mayor.
Good day, sir.
Wetaskiwin Ag Society has, as part of their in-kind donation, has asked for some in-kind staff time. Of course, the fire truck specifically, we bill back the cost of 4 firefighters as part of that. So there is some revenue coming in there. In regards to parking barricades, we're estimating that the staff time is estimated about 1 hour. In regards to the advertising, staff time is estimated approximately 3 hours. And then in regards to the signage, staff time is estimated at 1 hour. And in asking the specific functional areas within the city, that there didn't seem to be an issue with capacity.
Good, thank you. Councilor Nielsen.
Well, 2 questions. I guess first off, in some of those estimations, in terms of barricades, we're talking about 1 man-hour to load up barricades, haul them out there, set them up, pick them up and return them is 1 hour.
Through the mayor to Councillor Nielsen, the time to go from, so it's not 1 man-hour, it's just an hour to get that work done. And so we didn't go into depth on the on specifically how many would be located in that hour. So for the barricade specifically, it might be a team of 2 over the course of an hour. And Kathy could speak a bit more to that in regards to the more specifics for parking barricades. In regards to advertising, I think for communications, it was 1 hour, and for ECDev, it was another 2 hours, and one individual per, so.
And Paul, you talked about, sorry, through the chair to Paul, you talked about billing back. Are you talking about we will be billing back, or normally we bill back?
Through the mayor to Councillor Nielsen. So their ask is for in kind. They're not actually asking for any grant dollars. And so typically the cost of a single fire truck has a price of about $630 per hour. That includes the 4 firefighters as part of that cost of the fire truck. And so the total cost for 2 days at 6 hours per day is about $7,560. But again, they're asking for that in kind. So if council were to approve, we would just provide the fire truck and not the grant dollars.
And if you were able to, just as a guesstimate, Paul, break out the difference between the fire truck at no cost and the cost of staff, what would you anticipate of that 7,000 would be the actual staff cost?
Through the mayor to Councillor Nielsen, I'd like an opportunity to speak to our deputy fire chief to get more of that information for you if you're looking for that.
You probably average about, you'd be safe to say $100 an hour for staff time if it was staffed with 4 firefighters.
And so they're asking to have personnel and fire truck there in the event of an incident they had to respond to.
I would imagine. So it might even be a requirement.
Sure.
Through the mayor to Councillor Nielsen, it's an insurance requirement for the event.
And in the event, let's assume for a minute, we didn't have a fire truck and fire personnel there, and there was a call to the fire station to come and respond to an incident there. Would that be a cost recovery if that was the case?
Through the mayor to Councillor Nielsen. So in the event that an emergency call happened and we need to pull that fire truck away from the event, we would have to do so to respond to the event. That would take priority.
No, sorry, I missed.
Would we get paid for, if an event happened there, would we be able to charge for the truck being there working as opposed to being on standby?
Oh, good question. Karen, is Alex on the call? Could you ask Alex to chime in on that? You would have more of that information.
Good morning, Council. This is Deputy Chief Plant. Can I help you with a question?
Hi, Alex. It's Paul here.
Okay.
Council's asking a question in regards to renting of our fire trucks for events. And if we were to provide a fire truck with our 4 crew members to support the Wetaskiwin Ag Society event, in the event that there is a need for that fire truck to respond, would we be able to charge back the cost of the fire truck to the Ag Society?
Yes, we'll call that a motor vehicle collision, and that would be billed back through the insurance company of whoever had the incident there, or through the Ag Society's insurance too. So that's a yes, we will bill back if there is an incident there.
The mayor to Councillor Nielsen, did we answer your question? I feel like we've missed it there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just deliberating here.
Okay.
And if I may just intercept, when you have in kind and you're approving in kind, we would include that in this budget, and we would actually show the revenue in the various departmental budgets, because that accounts for the full accounting of what you're actually giving in terms of grants. So we would, even though it's in kind and it's not actual dollars, we still have to reflect that. So we would add that to this line item budget, and we would show a revenue item in the appropriate department, whether it was the advertising or in the case of the fire, we would put the dollars to the fire department.
Councillor Aberley.
Thank you. Mayor Gandam. I'm just going to speak on behalf of the event in general again, because to push that point, we're looking at under $10,000 of in-kind for what is, I would say, the most exciting event that has happened in this community in the last few years. I was there by pure chance the first year and amazed by the number of people in our community and surrounding community that came to Wetaskiwin for a weekend of crazy rain. It really was one of those things that we're looking at of how to do something special for the community. I personally hate tractor pulls. I also personally hate the raceway. I volunteer at both of them because, right, they're gas guzzlers and it's everything I'm against, but they're all for community. And again, I highly recommend supporting the Egg Society with this event.
Such a great egg. Anything further? Supporting in kind at 7619. Yes. And Prism Wetaskiwin. Councilor Nielsen.
I am in support of this request. We have diversity and inclusion as a primary focus in our community. I think it's important that we support the event. However, I would encourage whoever works with this organization to ensure that the kind of reporting and financial feedback we get meets some level of acceptable accounting practices, and we don't get it on the napkin. You can strike on a napkin.
Councilor Billingsley.
What was the organization called before Prism? It was
SEGA.
Sega. Last year, was it $2,500? Does that sound right when it was Sega? Or was that 2 years ago?
It was 3,000 in 2020.
I have concerns like Councillor Nielsen as far as reporting and follow-up. For that reason, I would be willing to go to 3,000.
And not have an accounting requirement.
I'll supply that now.
Councilor Longstreet.
Thank you, sir. I agree with Councillor Nielsen. As part of the Inclusive and Diversity Committee in town, I see some of the good work that's going on, and I think sometimes we have to reach out to every segment of our population. And like you say, the accounting should be better, but at this time, I'm willing to stay with the 5,000.
Councilor Eberly.
I fully support the work that Prism is intending to do. And I have spoken with that board. And I'm trying to not be on that board, but I do know the people. I am concerned at this point at the full $5,000. So I would be in support of the 3,000 to let them start to build, continue and work into higher levels when they are more comfortable with events that could happen in the future.
Councilor Blatz.
I agree with the sentiments that Councillor Averly has brought up. I would be in support of $3,000 until they get their footing. But I am in full support of what they stand for and what they are trying to do in our community.
I agree as well. I really appreciate the work that they're doing in the community. I too have concerns with the accounting side of it. I would support $3,000 only if when they come back with their financial report, that there are receipts attached to the cash withdrawals or things that are happening in terms of what they're paying for throughout their year with their events. Telling me that money was spent, but not where it was spent is concerning. So I'll support $3,000 with the understanding that their financial reporting will be significantly better in terms of accounting for every dollar that the organization is using. Councillor Billingsley.
So are you suggesting then more of a cash draw as opposed to cutting a check for the $3,000? Because
No, because I think that the accounting or the staff time that would go along with that, I'm supporting the $3,000. When they report back their finances next year, that it shows why on October 1st, there was a withdrawal for $440 with the receipt attached to it.
and if not,
Then I don't support the organization moving forward in terms of financial contributions.
fair enough.
Councillor Elliott.
Is it not a stipulation of the grant and aid that they must supply us with a financial statement and as to how the money was spent? Like that's right in our policy.
Does the policy state on like specific? Just the recorded that? Yeah. So I think that's the shortfall on our half. on our
Okay.
behalf.
I'm sorry. When the grant and aid program went in, that was one of the, like, back in dinosaur age when it was put in originally, that was a stipulation, was that there must be a complete accounting of how all dollars were spent.
It is there, number 13.
Okay.
Yeah, it just says a financial statement. So would that then include the specifics other than the financial statement or the banking statement that we received?
It says
Oh, sorry.
financially,
Sure.
how the funds were used, so.
But so that it does.
Maybe there could just be a note attached if, when approval goes out, that we're looking for a full accounting. Because we'll be sending a letter out, will we not? So could this just not be attached?
Yes. So at 5,000. $3,000. With the understanding that financial reporting will be significantly improved. Okay, let's get through the under $500 and then we'll go break for lunch until 1 o'clock. Oh, perfect. Oh, there we are. Tasman Legion branch number 86 at $500. Manlock Theater Society. Were we giving them two before?
Because the under 500 is the actors.
Oh,
It's separate from the, it's the similar name, but this is the,
Right.
yes.
separate entity.
Yeah, I can pull up that grant need if I
No,
need to
that's
show
fine.
it.
500 it is. Verizon Center for 500. Any discussion? Approved. Tasman Olympian Swim Club for $500. Any discussion? Approved. North Central Alberta Poultry Association. Not approved. Tasman Arts Music Festival Society. Councillor Billingsley.
Can I have the difference between the Music Festival Society and the Music Festival? Is it part of the same organization? They are not. Okay, good. Thank you.
Anything further? $500? Approved. Perfect. We will break for lunch. We will reconvene at 1 PM for a public hearing under the regular council meeting.